Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you're watching this interview anywhere else but with our private Facebook community called High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, definitely come check us out. And that community was put together specifically for our coaches, consultants, and service providers who are serious about getting up to that 6 and that 7-figure level. So if that's you, definitely come check us out. And today I want to introduce you to one of the members of our community, Patrick. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you. Thanks, Extus. Happy to be here.
Same here. Great having you here. So Patrick, tell us, what is that you do?
Well, that's what I do. In a nutshell, I help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs to either launch an online business or help them build their audience, grow their brand, and make sales online.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what got you into this type of work?
Well, look, I was in sales corporate sales for many, many years. The last role I was in was I was a sales director for the better part of 9 years. And last year, in January, I decided that was enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of took a lot of the skills that I'd learned doing sales and marketing and started to go down that path, building my own business, actually in photography, funnily enough. And you know, over time, I started to do a lot more networking and started working with business coaches in trying to help, you know, sort of grow my brand. And in turn, I found some good partnerships to be able to help them with their sales. And that's how I ended up partnering with, you know, actually one of the business coaches to create, you know, our new business.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Yeah. And there comes a time in all of our careers, right? I know my story happened when I was a U.S. Marine, spent 8 years in there. And then I realized that this was just not, I needed to do something different. There had to be a different route and saying, okay, let's cut that tie and let's figure out the new path that we're going to be headed on. So
Yeah.
when you took that shift, when you left the kind of like corporate environment to get into building your own business, was it a pretty smooth transition? Did you just you just wake up and just say, hey, this is, and you just did it? Or did it take a bit of time to work up to get into say, okay, let me actually do this now?
That's a really good question. I'll say that it was not smooth at all. It actually came with a lot of struggle, but I'd already tried to do some side hustle businesses, you know, while I was working corporate, because I knew there was something that I wanted to do anyway, eventually. I think I just got really comfortable with my corporate role, you know, after, you know, trying businesses before. I actually just left not really having a plan, to be honest. So that's one thing that if I could do over is just plan a little bit better. But in saying that, I guess the advantage of it is that it got me really into gear and having to make things happen. So, you know, while the transition wasn't smooth, the path to it, you know, whilst it was a lot of struggle, the upward rise was very, very quick, you know, once you sort of get past a certain point. And I think for most people that I come across, you know, a lot of them sort of get stuck in the decision making and trying to get things perfect and trying to launch business and things like that. But one of the things I learned that it's definitely the opposite. You can't have a smooth launch. You can't have a smooth business, especially when you're first starting out. So.
Yeah, that's so true, right? Everyone wants to say, how do I find the secret or the one thing that I'm just going to do and it's just going to work perfectly every time? And then when you get on this bicycle and you start riding, you start realizing, like, goodness, you got to fall a few times before you'll ever get to where you need to go. And you definitely have to have some knee pads or some thick skin because you fall quite a lot, right?
You fall quite a lot, yes.
Yeah, love it. So in essence, so as far as so you said your background was kind of in sales as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So now, because I know that's a big part about with just online businesses as well, too, right? Just knowing how to sell. So do you consider yourself like a natural type of sales person, or is it a skill that you had to learn and develop over time?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, the naturalness of you know, doing sales, it happens as you do it. I don't believe anyone sort of wakes up and goes, "Oh, I'm a really good salesperson." I think it is a skill that you develop. I think what comes natural is if you really enjoy what you do and you believe in the product that you have. You know, whether it's someone else's or it's yours. I think the important part is that, you know, you enjoy what you do, you enjoy what you talk about, and that, that comes across in wanting to help people. I know a lot of, people say, I want to help people. If you genuinely believe it, I think you'll do quite well at sales. Of course, there's some strategies and, the different scenarios being online, even Zoom, face-to-face, on the phone. There's techniques and strategies that, you have to be mindful of. But as far as those skills, it's definitely a learned skill, I would say.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. So what, in essence, with your business, what's your why behind what you do?
Well, the biggest thing, I think, especially with the way and the target audience that we've got, is we really relate. I relate to a lot of people out there who have been through the struggles of wanting to start but never really push forward. The first business I started was back in 2005, and it failed. And it failed, and I gave up. In essence, and a lot of the things that I'd learned in the past, I just think that now, especially when a lot of people are, even in the pandemic, even before then, people are always trying to get ahead in their life, and I found it a really good way for me personally, for my family, to be in control and to be in charge of sort of our future financially and from a lifestyle point of view. And I guess because we see it more and more, I think we've got a great message to try to help people to be able to make that transition,
Yeah, that's so powerful. And plus with the internet as well too, to where just having a global impact, that definitely changes the game, right? I was today I've done, I think I did about maybe 5 or 6 interviews or something.
Wow.
And the places I've been, I think I went to Denmark, then I went to Malaysia, then I went to New Zealand, and now I'm in
Wow.
Australia, right?
Yeah, just across the ditch.
Yeah, it's like crazy how you just meet so many different people in such a short time frame. When I was younger, it was like, it felt like the world was such this big place, but then coming online, being on through Zoom and type of stuff like that, all of a sudden you realize, like, it's really not that big, huh?
It's really not that big, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, for what you're doing too, the message that you've got, is so relevant for a lot of people, a lot of countries, right? I don't think it's limited to even just consulting. It's just that, I think for what you do, it's good that people can follow the path that you're taking as well. As an example, as a mentor. I think that's very important.
Exactly. Love it. So the question now becomes, in terms of with your clients, the individuals you wanting to attract, what are a few big mistakes you see them making as you're on your journey?
Yeah, to be honest, the biggest thing that I see is mindset. I know it sounds funny. Some people believe it, some people don't, but it really is a lot about mindset more than tactics and strategies. But if I had to put it down to something, the most common thing that I see, or a couple of things. One of them is that people overthink their business. They feel like maybe they have to have the right product, the perfect, the perfect systems, the best value of delivery, and that causes them to not take any action. So, a lot of the times when people are overthinking things, or they're trying so hard to perfect something that has to meet the market anyway, I think that's what stops a lot of people. And so, if they can have a shift in mindset that, they're out there for a mission to help, or they have a strong enough why, that everything will fall into place, and you can really craft your business to what your audience would want anyway, right? So I think that's probably the biggest thing, most common thing that I see.
Yeah, that's so true. Because the biggest thing is just when you do something, like if it's just you, right? So if you're creating something for you, like, you don't have to really care, but you can take as much, you can make it as perfect as you want to, because it's yours. You're the final judge. But when it comes to where someone else is gonna either say, do I find this valuable or do I not? It's much better to say, hey, how do we get it out as quickly as possible, just to kind of get the feedback so you could start tweaking, versus just being at home, trying to create the best thing, or trying to overthink how is this thing going to be perfect, right? Because there's no such thing, right?
Yeah, 100%. And then by the time you're probably perfected, it's outdated, So
Love it.
things.
Yeah, awesome. So essence, I guess the next question becomes, in terms of skills wise, what's one skill you say you've mastered that's kind of helped you get to your level of success today?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things, and it sort of relates, I suppose, to, having the right product, is being able to listen to what your audience would want from you. I think that's probably one of the things. I know in sales, one of the things that kills the success of sales is if you're talking too much, and you're trying to put your product out there, or you're trying to sell the features and benefits to people, when in actual fact those features and benefits probably don't align with what they want. And so I think the listening skills part of it, especially when we do marketing, is so important, because it's the conversations that people are having in their heads that we've got to try to extract so that we can, sort of give them what they want and need. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of laugh a little bit when you said that, as far as, because what came up for me was when I really first started getting into like how to sell, because I started back in 2013. And I think about my first few years of whenever I used to get on a call or something,
Mm.
I used to talk so much. It was like I talked so much that at first the process was like, yes, that's pretty good. And I talked to someone, then they became unsold. And I talked some more. It's like a cycle. It's like, when do you stop, right?
When there's
You,
that's a good point, actually, Extus, when you say you unsell them right
exactly.
after you do it a bit.
Yeah, yeah. And then you start really, after you go through some time, you start realizing that, man, it's really not about you and what you think they should. It's really about them, and try and
Mm.
discover, let them tell you what that unmet need, let them let you know what the issue is, and then only then you like offer some type of solution, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
Yeah. So so right now, so as you run your business right now, because is your background, are you both sales and marketing, or were you mostly into the sales part of stuff?
Yeah, look, my strength is definitely in sales.
Mm-hmm.
That's 100% my background. And my business partner, he's got a bit of both, but he's really got the marketing mind
Mm-hmm.
behind it, and it's a learning experience. The marketing, it's such a big beast, and there's so many different ways to market, and the psychology of marketing is just so important. You've got your copywriting, you've got ads, you've got organic ways to do it, you've got ways to chat to people before you even get them to a sale, right? So I think marketing is something that I think I'll consistently and constantly learn
Mm-hmm.
over time. And I know for the parts that I do, it can be really effective for now, but we also have to find the trends of marketing, and places to market and things like that. So it's something that sales is definitely my strong suit, and marketing is something that I've come to learn very quickly. And but I think that's more of an evolution
Mm-hmm.
than anything else.
Yeah, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and for
Um,
most businesses, I think that's got to be the constant too. Is how to market themselves and have a solid sales process in the back end to be able to bring clients on.
yeah, yeah. That's the two biggest things: sales and marketing. Without those, nothing else works.
Yeah,
Is that's useless, futile. Um,
products is no good. Yeah, if you can't sell
yeah,
it.
yeah. So question now becomes, what do you believe as far as when it grows, in terms of growing a business, as far as, is it something that you believe one person can do, or is it more based on, it's a team type of sport too, where you just only focus on the thing that you're good at, and then kind of get everybody else to do the other thing that you're not really good at? Or do you believe more based on, hey, you got to figure it all out? It's better
Mm.
to do it by one person. What are your thoughts?
Wow, that's a really good question. So I think it depends a lot on the resources that you've got available to you.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if you're starting out, and one of the things is to try to understand where your strengths are, and understand just in a general point of view how you want things to look. So have a vision for your business and marketing and things like that. But as quickly as you can, I think the smart move is to try to outsource, or try to leverage other people in the weaknesses that you've got. I think that's one thing that's helped me a lot to launch a lot quicker and to get the business operational much quicker. Is to be able to leverage off other people's talents and skills. And it's always, I think it's important that if you can align yourself with somebody who's walked the path that you want to go down, and learn the mistakes maybe that they've made, not so much the wins that they have, because a lot of people are winning out there, but I think it's in the mistakes that you can relate to, that is potentially what you're going to be going through. I think that is a really important thing if you don't have as many resources to be able to work off. So I think that's the way to do it. If you're first starting, try to understand where you're good at, where you're not so good at. Outsource if you can, leverage other people, and wherever you can, try to find a mentor to guide you along.
Yeah. And I love what you just said here, as far as find someone who's already made the mistakes, right? Because there's a lot of people who they stumble upon success, they have some type of success, but what I found is that as an entrepreneur, there's always a new challenge, always a new battle. And it's always better, I think from my perspective as well, so I try to find myself with some individuals who's made all the mistakes, because I know that when you do get in a situation, if you don't have the context for it, right? Like if you haven't faced it before, you could be as successful as you are, but if it's something you haven't faced, then when you do get in a situation, you won't know what to do. Versus the guy who's already mistake. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you come and play. He'll know what to say. Hey, do this. Right?
That's so important. And the other thing too, Extus, to note is that the mistakes that you make from going to say 0 to 100,000 is going to be different to take you from 100,000 to 200 and beyond, and to 1 million. Like there's going to be things that come up that's maybe out of your control. But also there's things that you'll make, going from different levels where things sort of open up to either be a good thing or a bad thing. With either delivery, or it could be clients, the attention that you can give, the people that you're working with, the marketing that you're doing. So I think that the mistakes in different levels as well, I think is important.
Yeah. And what about with your clients, right? So where's someone typically at when they come to a realization that they need your services?
There's a couple of places. One is that they've been trying to start a business, but have just been thinking about it for a long, long time. And it comes to a point where I think there's a big enough desire, or they're disturbed enough in their situation that they want to do it, and sick of thinking about it. And on the other spectrum is there's businesses who have taken themselves to a certain level, but have plateaued for a long period of time and can't seem to break, their 4-minute mile, if you like. They just can't break that next ceiling, and they're sort of stuck. So those are the two polarizing ends of the spectrum of people that come to us. I think when you have a level of success when you first start off, it's easy to believe that you can just keep going and the growth is consistent. But we find, at some point in time, you sort of hit a peak, and it just takes that next level of either thinking or mindset to help you get past it.
Yeah. So true. A lot of people, they get into business and they just think, the saying I heard, I can't remember who said it, but they said, the road that got you out of Egypt won't lead you to the promised land, right?
That's so true.
Yeah, as you go through on the journey, there's all these different shifts, and I believe that one of the best things you can do is just surround yourself with just really good people, because at the end you'll never know all of it, but if you're around the right people, they'll be able to point those things out to you, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can totally agree with that.
Yeah. What about information? What do you do for like self-study? Are you into podcasts, reading books? How do you consume information?
Yeah, there's a few influencers that I follow that I draw inspiration from. There's podcasts, like you said, I think is a great place. Like the interviews that you're doing is great to tune into that, because you just never know what perspective that you can pick up, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with the most successful people in the world, the billionaires and things like that, to draw inspiration from. Sometimes it's it's the solo business owner that took themselves to a certain level that you can draw inspiration from. So podcasts, YouTube is a good source, I think, to not so much consume like a lot of the free how-tos and things like that, but more the motivational side of things, to try to keep you on track to do that. And some of the groups that we're part of, like that, you have people asking questions, I think it's a great place to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. What about as far as big insights, right? Because I believe that just like for me, the place where I'm at my business, right? One of the things I always look for is like what's the shortcut, and I always like to at different stages I realize different things becomes important. Just like I realize the place where I'm at my business, the biggest thing for me is just relationships, figuring out how do I I guess my perspective is if someone is really trying to look for the key to success, just based on where I'm at right now, is just saying, hey, just surround yourself with better people. Figure out how do you see who your friends are, see who the sum average of your or see the 5 closest people you're around, see who they are, and see what this level of success is, and realize that that's probably what yours is going to be as well too. But then if you want to grow fast, find a different peer group and try to pick. Don't just stumble on your friends, but actually pick them so that you can get to where you want to get to. So that's kind of where I'm at on my own journey. What about yourself? What do you believe is just based on where you are, your company, what you're doing? What's that one thing you believe is one of the most important pieces?
Yeah, sorry, Extus, just the first part of that cut out for me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I think just had an unstable connection for a minute. But from what I'm gathering, you're talking about sort of the next levels of business and how to get.
Yeah, well, just what's the one thing if you had to pick one thing, if you say, okay, what's like what should I focus on? If someone wants to say, okay, what do I focus on to be successful? What'd you say would be that one thing?
Yeah. Wow. That's a really good question. Depending on which part of the journey you're in. But I would say if it had to come down to one thing, it's definitely in the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely in the mindset and the decision making. How you make decisions, I guess, is if you had to narrow it down.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you look at it from from a defeatist point of view or a success point of view, I think those things make a difference in the attitude of how you then take on the tactics and the strategies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of strategies that you can get for free on the internet, a lot of tactics that you can get for free. And there's a lot of talk about mindset, but I think until you can break through that and then figure out how your decision making process works, I think that will make all the difference on how you implement the tactics, how you implement the strategies, when do you deploy these things, and sort of what people you want to surround yourself with, because of the decisions that you're making and the pathway, or the decisions that you take to put you on the pathway in the first place. So I'd say that's probably the number one.
Yeah, awesome, love it. What about a habit, right? Do you have any? What's one habit you'd say that's been responsible for your success?
Wow. Okay. If it was one habit is, like I like to get tasks done. I get I get pretty fussy about not being able to complete things. So, if I've got a project, I like to be able to complete, and I sort of obsess over it until it's done. I would say that's probably one of the habits that helped me to get to here. But at the same time, it can also, hold up other parts of the process. So you just got to be careful about those things. But I'd say once I've got a task and I need to finish it, I see it through, and I've got a goal. I kind of obsess over that to get it done.
Nice. And question now becomes, if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect?
Sure. The best way to do it is actually to go onto our website platform, which is www.eknowledgeforgood.com. If people can go to that, they can have a look at sort of what our community is about, and then reach out to via email, or there's plenty of ways to contact us through there.
Awesome. Do you have any free resources at all on there as well?
Yes, yeah, for sure. As far as free resources, I think I do a lot actually with growing social media following and doing sales on social media. So I think what I'd like to offer for people is to join our free group, basically on social media, on Facebook. So there's a lot of free training in there, which is if you search on Facebook, Social Media Secrets, you can find us on there as well.
Awesome, Patrick. Love it, man. Well, we're getting to the end of the interview here, but do you have any
Thanks,
final
Anna.
thoughts before we wrap up here?
Yeah, look, I thanks again for having us on. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of things that I pick up, when you're doing your interviews and when other people are, sharing their stories. And the biggest thing that probably I suggest to people is to, pick your mentors wisely and follow the path that, the path that they've taken, if that's the way that you want to go. I think that's the best way to grow.
Awesome. Love it, Patrick. Hey, man, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. Really appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Yep.
Thanks
And
so
we'll
much.
be in touch. Okay.
Thanks so much.